As of the making of this video, Spider-Man for the PS4 is currently sitting at an 87 on Metacritic. Now, do I believe it deserves this score? Not exactly. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not like I'm mad that this game has an 87, but I personally, not like my opinion means anything anyway, I would have given it around a 7. Now, there are absolutely elements in this game that are top-notch and worthy of praise, and there are others that are not so deserving. First off, let's talk about the world itself, because graphically, this game is a beast. The city looks spectacular, the ocean, the lighting are all very impressive. That doesn't matter if you're playing at 1080p or 4K, both look great. The PS4 Pro is definitely the definitive way to play with everything popping a lot more, but it's not like you're missing a whole lot if you don't have a Pro, and yes, I played both versions. Character models look great in cutscenes, but when you jump down into the city streets and begin to mingle with the commoners, that's when the game starts to show where the sacrifices had to be made. Duplicate faces everywhere, and I do mean everywhere. Everybody's got a damn twin. Duplicate vehicles everywhere. Now, I'm pretty sure, given how great the game looks, this is all due to the limitations in hardware, but I can assure you, when you're swinging overhead, everything looks and blends really nice. Combat is surprisingly fun and streamlined for the most part, for the first half of the game anyway. Gadgets and gizmos galore, and yes, that's a reference to The Little Mermaid. Uppercut a dude and then pull him straight down on his head, or if your enemies are close to a wall, just jump against it and then blast into your opponent with enough force that his damn mother feels it. Anyways, you see, this is why I feel the combat is inconsistent, because Spider-Man is so powerful, meaning you can lift cars like they're nothing. Hell, at one point you single-handedly stop a dump truck from falling off of a bridge. At least I think it was a bridge. Hell, I don't remember. Bottom line is Spider-Man is a monster, which begs the question, why in the hell can't I block? As in Arkham Knight style block, and I don't know, maybe take his bowling arm with me. Don't get me wrong. As well as being strong, Spider-Man is equally as fast and can duck and dodge any attack, but that's all you can do is dodge. And a lot of the time, a well-timed dodge ends with you jumping away from your enemy and blasting them with a handful of webby goo, which is cool at first, but toward the later half of the game, when you're fighting much more sophisticated enemies, the combat can feel a little tedious. With people trying to snipe you from watchtowers, turrets on top of vehicles, armed soldiers with machine guns, flying enemies with napalm, it gets to where every time you're in the middle of a combination, you have to dodge away from the fight and focus on somebody else. It just gets a little aggravating, that's all I'm saying. It was just, I don't know, it was just easier for me to wait for somebody else to make the first move, and I would just dodge with circle and then press triangle to execute an instant knockout. You guys that have played the game, you know what I'm talking about. Now again, I only felt like this toward the end of the game. For the most part, the combat was awesome and is some of the best I've seen out of all the games that try to implement this style of combat. By the way, I would have liked to see maybe 2 or 3 different movesets. Are you with me on this? When you hit square, 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 it's always the same 4 moves in the exact same order. Switch it up, for crying out loud. Do 4 punches instead of 4 kicks. Do 2 kicks and 2 punches. Just to keep it from feeling repetitive and making Spider-Man feel like, I don't know, a more well-rounded fighter. Story. Oh, geez. The story was very underwhelming for me. I gotta be honest, I just didn't care about any of the characters, even though the voice acting was pretty on point for a video game. Now, see, if this were a movie, it would have been a much better movie than that pile of trash, Spider-Man Homecoming. This Spider-Man felt much less clumsy and much more competent and capable than the clown in Homecoming. Now, don't get me wrong, that's nothing against the actor playing him. I feel he did a good job. It's just how the movie was made sucked. A lot of the sequences in Spider-Man, the video game, would have played out much better if I were watching it as opposed to playing it. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't play a Spider-Man game to play as Peter Parker, Miles Morales, and damn sure not Mary Jane Watson. Most of the Mary Jane sections felt forced and completely unnecessary. The Miles sections weren't as bad, but they were still annoying. I didn't even like playing as Peter Parker, honestly. It's like these sections were nothing more but annoying side dishes to give the game more length. I've heard people say that they like these sections because they couldn't wait to get back to playing as Spider-Man. I agree, but I shouldn't dread these sections either. Once or twice, fine, but to keep antagonizing me with these garbage sections damn near made me quit the game completely. I remember you had to herd cattle in Red Dead Redemption. It was torture, but they didn't make you do it again until way later. They didn't have you herding cattle every 2 or 3 missions or make you play as Bonnie McFarlane scouting an enemy outpost with no gun either. Although, I'm sure that is a possibility for Red Dead Redemption 2. It's the equivalent of you having to play as Alfred in Arkham Knight and do some super slick investigative work for Batman, or hell, let's make sure we include a playable Lois Lane in our Superman game while we're at it. No, this does not need to be a trend, and more games do not need to include it. Two things were happening here. Number one, they wanted to show you how brave and tough Mary Jane was, to show you she can be just as effective as Spider-Man without any powers. Hell, even more so because she even saved Spider-Man at one point. And just as she's about to get some solid intel, old retarded-ass Spider-Man comes along and spoils everything for her. Oh, by the way, how she saves him is retarded. He can barely hold a wooden plank with Miles standing on it, but missions earlier, you're holding a dump truck. I know. I'm nitpicking a Spider-Man game, but it's so easy for me to spot bullshit nowadays. I can see it a mile off. Anyways, the second thing, as I stated before, was just simply to extend the game a little longer, even though it would have been much better without any of that trash. Oh, and thank God you can skip deciphering towers or working on tablet switchboards or mix and matching colors. Thankfully, you can go into your options and skip all that nonsense. It's a good thing too, because they got enough force shit in this game without me having to waste my time in a Spider-Man game where I'm supposed to be swinging and kicking ass, not playing imaginary puzzles to make your game longer. Side missions. Hell, I skip most of them, people, with the exception of the Taskmaster guy. Those were okay, but the research center hubs scattered throughout the city, those are straight trash. One had me swinging through gas in the air to get samples. Another had me spraying the air to save the fish. I can only imagine what the crap they expect you to do. You got random crimes that go on throughout the city, and those are fun at first, but as time goes on, it's the same recycled crimes again and again and again. You end up skipping those too. At least, I did anyway. There are backpacks for you to collect, which unlock probably the worst costume of them all, and a bunch of other useless activities that aren't fun. Oh, you can take pictures of buildings, if you're so inclined. For the record, I will say the built-in photo mode in the game is fantastic, and it does work great. It's probably the most I've used a photo mode in any video game. Story missions were just mediocre to me. The boss battles, they were all just mediocre, with the exception of the last one. The last boss battle is fun, and it's done really well. The highlight of the game, for me, was the gang hideouts. Now rest easy, because there's a ton of them. This is where Spider-Man shined the brightest, in my opinion. They're all different and varied, and they really let you put the combat to the test. Plus, you can play them over and over again, which is awesome. Attack them any way you want to. Go stealthy or just go in and start smashing people. So swinging through the city on the way to my next hideout is what I enjoyed the most in Spider-Man. I really think that playing as Peter, Morales, and MJ took a lot of my interest from the game. It was such a chore. It really, really was. Even though the sections are short and easy, which just reinforces my notion that they didn't need to be there in the first place, not to mention how stupid the AI is you're sneaking past. It just broke the immersion every time. Okay, so I just got new powers and unlocks, slammed the hideout, and here is Mary Jane. Go sneak around for a bit with your non-existent ass. Yeah, I got this kick-ass photo mode, and I can't even exploit the girl's ass because it doesn't exist. In closing, due to how damn good everything looks, how smooth and kick-ass the combat is, oh yeah. One more thing. You mean to tell me I can swing a guy over my head first into the concrete, but I can't watch a dude bounce off the floor after I drop kick him off of a building? Come on, Insomniac. Hey, Spider-Man doesn't kill. Well, according to a lot of the shit I did in this game, I'd say yes, the hell he does. Anyways, the sheer size of the game, the kick-ass photo mode, and how good the swinging was, I'd say it's a 7 out of 10 game, man. Story mediocre, boss battles mediocre, side missions boring, and playing as other people downright sucked. Some of the coolest shit you do in this game, too, is in the cutscenes. But I don't think that's the game's fault. I really don't know how they could have incorporated that into the gameplay, but whatever. The Spider-Man in this game is badass one minute, and then he's a pansy the next. Inconsistent. But that's just about every form of entertainment these days. You're gonna have to put up with some bullshit in your shit. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to dislike it, tell me to go play Call of Duty. I will holler at you guys later.